Hello everyone! So it is time to start reading the next two chapters of James and the Giant Peach. Yesterday, if you tuned in, you remember that we learned a little bit about James and his unfortunate series of events. His parents were eaten by a rhinoceros in the UK, I believe, in England. And he was forced to go live with his two aunts, Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker, who are not the nicest of people. And we got to kind of understand how he feels, and we got to kind of meet the aunts who thought very highly of themselves, that they were beautiful and wonderful. And I think at this point we just kind of really feel bad for James. So we're going to continue reading, and hopefully that things start to look a little bit up for him. If you didn't get to hear chapters 1 and 2, you can stop the video, go watch chapters 1 and 2 first, and then come back and watch this one so that you're up to date. But we're just going to get right into it with chapters 2 and 3. If you remember, this is what Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker look like. Just not the nicest looking women. Okay, chapter 3. It was at this point that the first thing of all the rather peculiar things that led to so many other much more peculiar things happened to James. For suddenly, just behind him, James heard a rustling of leaves, and he turned around and saw an old man in a crazy dark green suit emerging from the bushes. He was a very small old man, but he had a huge bald head and a face that was covered all over with bristly black whiskers. He stopped when he was about 3 yards away, and he stood there, leaning on his stick and staring hard at James. When he spoke, his voice was very slow and creaky. "Come closer to me, little boy," he said, beckoning to James with a finger. "Come right up close to me, and I will show you something wonderful." James was so frightened to move. The old man hobbled a step or two nearer, and then he put a hand into the pocket of his jacket and took out a small white paper bag. "You see this?" he whispered, waving the bag gently to and fro in the front of James's face. "You know what this is, my dear? You know what's inside this little bag?" Then he came nearer still, leaning forward and pushing his face so close to James that James could feel breath blowing on his cheeks. The breath smelled musty and stale and slightly mildewed, like air in an old cellar. "Take a look, my dear," he said, opening the bag and tilting it towards James. Inside it, James could see a mass of tiny green things that looked like little stones or crystals, each one about the size of a grain of rice. They were extraordinarily beautiful, and there was a strange brightness about them, a sort of luminous quality that made them glow and sparkle in the most wonderful way. We learned from our CKLA unit that luminous means to light up or to be bright. "Listen to them," the old man whispered. "Listen to them move." James stared into the bag, and sure enough, there was a faint rustling sound coming up from inside it. And then he noticed that all the thousands of little green things were slowly, very slowly, stirring about and moving over each other as though they were alive. "There's more power and magic in those things in there than in all the rest of the world put together," the old man said softly. But, what are they?" James murmured, finding his voice at last. "Where do they come from?" "Aha," the old man whispered. "You'd never guess that." He was crouched a little low and pushing his face still closer and closer to James until the tip of his long nose was actually touching the skin on James's forehead. Then, suddenly, he jumped back and began waving his stick madly in the air. "Crocodile tongues!" he cried. 1,000 long, slimy crocodile tongues boiled up in the skull of a dead witch for 20 days and nights with the eyeballs of a lizard. Add the fingers of a young monkey, the gizzard of a pig, the beak of a green parrot, the juice of a porcupine, and 3 spoonfuls of sugar. Stew for another week, and then let the moon do the rest." All at once, he pushed the white paper bag into James's hands and said, "Here, You take it. It's yours. So that was the end of chapter 3. So before I go on to chapter 4, I'm going to ask you a question that you can type in to answer in the comments below if you'd like to. And my question is, do you think, what's your prediction? Do you think that these tiny green things and this man, hi Thor, are going to bring something good for James, or you think they're going to bring something bad for James? Let me know what you think about your prediction and tell me why you think that. All right, now we're going to go on to chapter 4. I don't know if I showed you the picture of the green man coming out of the bushes, so I'd like to do that. That's the man with the green little moving things. Do you want to listen? No? Okay. All right, chapter 4. James Henry Trotter stood there, clutching the bag and staring at the old man. "And now," the old man said, "all you've got to do is this. Take a large jug of water and pour all the little green things into it. Then, very slowly, one by one, add 10 hairs from your own head. That sets them off. It gets them going. In a couple of minutes, the water will begin to froth and bubble furiously, and as soon as that happens, you must quickly drink it all down. The whole jugful in one gulp, and then, my dear, you will feel it churning and boiling in your stomach, and steam will start coming out of your mouth, and immediately after, marvelous things will start to happen to you. Fabulous, unbelievable things, and you will never be miserable again in your life. Because you are miserable, aren't you? You needn't tell me. I know all about it. Now off you go." Thank you. Oh, Thor, you made me lose my spot. "Now off you go and do exactly as I say. And don't whisper a word of this to those 2 horrible aunts of yours. Not a word. And don't let those green things in there get away from you either, because if they do escape, then they will be working their magic upon someone else instead of upon you. And that isn't what you want at all. Is it, my dear? Whenever they meet first, be it bug, insect, animal, or tree, that will be the one who gets the full power of their magic. So hold the bag tight. Don't tear the paper. Off you go. Hurry up. Don't wait. Now it's time. Hurry." With that, the old man turned away and disappeared back into the bushes. So that is the end of chapter 4. It's starting to get a little spooky, but pretty good. This is the part in the story that I start to really, really love because it gets really interesting as time goes on. So for the next part of my question, I want to know simply what you think about the book so far. Do you like it? Do you not like it? And of course, I'm going to ask you with your answer, you have to support it with evidence, details from the story. So tell me if you really like it, tell me why. If you're not liking it so much, tell me why, and we will continue on. And I'm excited to see what you guys think because this is one of my favorite books. So I'm interested to see if you guys are going to agree with me and think the same thing. So I will be reading the next chapters tomorrow, and I really look forward to seeing your answers in the comments below. Please don't forget to comment. And if you talk to any friends, tell them to watch these also. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.